Welcome to Fireside Giants. My name is Alex with my co-host here, Anthony Rivardo. Today, we're taking a look at arguably the most underrated player on the New York Giants, Dexter Lawrence. And his name kind of gets shuffled behind guys like Leonard Williams, James Bradbury, Blake Martinez, Logan Ryan. We don't really hear much about Dexter Lawrence. And I'll tell you what, that guy took one of the biggest leaps, if not the biggest leap of any player on the Giants last year in terms of pure statistics. It's actually insane if you look at his stats, and we'll talk about that, how he progressed. And we were actually watching BJ Hill film yesterday on our last episode, 3 underrated players that can make an impact in 2021. Watching BJ Hill, watching a couple other players like Tay Crowder, and all we noticed was that Dexter Lawrence was absolutely demolishing people in the trenches, like every single play. We're like, you know what? We should probably show him some love, because when you're noticing another player playing that well, when you're watching film, somebody completely different, it shows up and it stood out. And we were like, wow, he was actually helping guys like BJ Hill, helping guys like Tay Crowder get to the quarterback, make plays, and have a more efficient season. So he was directly impacting everybody around him in a positive way. And it showed up. It was obvious. So we want to give him some love, show him, that we're seeing that progression. And he deserves it because he has taken such a big step forward. Before we dive into the stats, though, and really what he did in 2020 to, kind of draw our attention to him, Anthony, how are you doing today, my friend?
I'm doing real good. And yeah, Dexter Lawrence just pops off the tape. You'll be watching any random player on the Giants defense and you'll notice Dexter Lawrence is making plays. Super underrated player who impacts the Giants defense more than people realize. He is one of the best players on this defense already, and he hasn't been in the league very long. A real young player who honestly could be one of the best players at his position in a couple of years if you don't already consider him to be that, because he really is that good. He's definitely top 10 in his position, in my opinion. PFF has him at like 16, so it's not too far off there. And he's just a guy who's improving year to year and probably is going to continue to improve until he really is one of the best players in the league at his position. I think Dexter, 340 pounds. He's faster than most players on the field as well. He's kind of just a freak of nature, being that big, that strong, and that fast. And all of that put together with smart football and, really dominant run defending and improving pass rushing makes for one of the best players defensively in the NFL. So I'm excited to see where his career goes, how he continues to grow, and reflecting on the past 2 years that we've gotten from Dexter and seeing that jump that he took forward. Already really solid in his rookie year, even better in year 2. Just makes me really confident in him as a player right now and in the long term.
Absolutely. I think he is a building block on this team for the future. I think pairing him with Leonard Williams, obviously having Dalvin Tomlinson helped him tremendously, really soaked up a lot of double teams, filled that nose tackle spot. But what I love the most about Dexter Lawrence is his versatility and alignments, right? He can feature at 4-eye, 3-tech. He can play over the nose. And I think that's going to allow the Giants to get a little bit more creative with how they utilize their offense, their defensive line. And, when you have a guy like a Fadio Denabo who can feature at the 5-tech, feature in the 4-eye, he can kind of go into the interior in those sub packages. He has that power already on hand. You can do more unique things with Dexter Lawrence. You can put him over the nose and really have him just demolish centers. He is so much bigger than the average center in the NFL. He can take full advantage of that. And we saw that throughout the clips that we did watch, right? We saw how good he was at, using his hand leverage and really disengaging centers and really using his frame. Blake Martinez said it best. The guy is a freak of nature. And when he gets going, he cannot be stopped. He's a 350 pound, like 6'7" or 6'4". The guy's massive. He's huge, but he's also very nimble and quick on his feet for a player of that size. A very unique guy. And I think, when Dave Gettleman saw him coming out of Clemson, he was a player he had to have. That is the MO for Dave Gettleman, big hog molly on the defensive line. He fits the scheme perfectly, versatile, what Patrick Graham likes to utilize. Now, what Dexter Lawrence did last year was tremendous in terms of producing far more in way less snaps. And, what we're looking at, Dexter Lawrence, he played 60% of snaps last year compared to 63% in his rookie season in 2019. But the difference is about 50 snaps, right? He played 50 fewer snaps. So keep that in mind, 50 fewer snaps. These are his statistics from his rookie season compared to his sophomore season, right? So in his rookie season, he had 38 combined tackles. In his sophomore season last year, he had 53. So 50 less snaps. He went from 38 to 53 combined tackles. He went from 2.5 sacks to 4 sacks. He went from 14 assists to 23 assists, 3 tackles for a loss to 6 tackles for a loss, 9 QB hits to 10 QB hits. He had 2 passes defended, getting those big mitts up there. And he went from an 11.6% missed tackle rate in his rookie campaign to a 3.6% missed tackle rate in his sophomore campaign. So you're seeing just an unbelievable development in terms of progression, in terms of production, efficiency, when he is on the field compared to his rookie season. He took one of the biggest leaps of any player that we saw last year, and nobody talked about it. I didn't hear a single person suggest that Dexter Lawrence took this big of a jump, and everyone just kind of ignored it. Everyone was like, we're looking at Leonard Williams in the 11.5 sacks. We're looking at Blake Martinez in the 162 combined tackles. We're looking at James Bradbury and his coverage, and all those things warrant attention. But Dexter Lawrence took a step forward that deserves attention, deserves the praise that we're about to give him in terms of pulling some of this film up and showing you the different ways that he impacted the game, whether it just be hustle or if it was, filling gaps in the run game or if he was getting sacks. And he had some sacks against some tremendous offensive lines last year, including against Pittsburgh in week 1, including against Cleveland. And I really wanted to showcase a lot of the different things that he did for this defense. We had 5 clips that we pulled. But Anthony, I'll let you get in here and talk about Dexter Lawrence, what you're thinking of him in terms of his statistics, his production, and what we expect from him moving forward, especially with a year of experience under his belt in Patrick Graham's scheme.
Yeah, I mean, the stats are excellent. The 4 sacks really jump out at you for a 340-pound defensive lineman. To get 4 sacks is super impressive. And I love what you mentioned with his versatility in terms of him mainly playing the 3-tech, a lot of times also playing the 4-eye, kind of just in that range, but also having the ability to go to the 2-eye, the 1, the 0. He can kind of just move around the offensive line just because he is so large, but also so quick. He's so large that you would assume he's just going to be a 0-tech, right? He's just going to stand over the nose and just plug gaps. But then he's so quick, you're like, okay, now we got to move him out to the 3-tech, have him rush the passer a little bit more, get in the shoulder of those guards and start getting towards the quarterback. That's what you really want him for. And in terms of his improvement, even if you go look at Pro Football Focus, which I know a lot of you guys don't love, but I think there's some value in it. If you just look at his pass rushing grade from his rookie year being a 64.5, which is kind of like average to slightly below, and then he jumps up to a 73.2, which is well above average on PFF's grading scale. I mean, that's really impressive right there. That just shows that his productivity has increased. And he only had 348 pass rushing attempts this past season compared to 412 last year. So that just means that on fewer reps, he's doing more. He's just being a better pass rusher, more consistent pass rusher, which is always, exciting and enticing to see that he's just improving in that regard. And of course, like I said, those 4 sacks really jump out at you when you look at the stats. And you think back to this past season, how we just really had a lot of trouble on the edge with all those injuries, Lorenzo Carter, O'Shane Ximenez, and we had a lot of late round rookies starting, Carter Coughlin, Cam Brown, Jabal Sherrod off a practice squad. We just had a ton of kind of no names rushing off the edge. But what we did have on the interior was really exciting. Leonard Williams, Dexter Lawrence, really getting after the quarterback, supplementing a lot of those failures that we had on the edges, really making things easier for those edge rushers as well, soaking up double teams, giving them one-on-ones with the tackles. And I think that's really exciting to see. And it's definitely a formula for success in terms of pass rushing in the NFL. When you have really good guys on the defensive line, those edge rushers benefit tremendously from that kind of thing. So not only is Leonard Williams an excellent interior pass rusher who really impacts our defense, you guys got to pay attention to Dexter Lawrence as well, doing the same thing for our defense. Hand in hand, those guys play off of each other, and overall the defense just plays better because of those 2 players. You get better productivity from your edge rushers, which in turn gets better coverage from your defensive backs. It all starts up front. I know it's kind of a cliche, but it all starts in the trenches and works its way back. You go inside to out, and the Giants have a really solid group on the inside, which makes everything outside even better.
And I think that's one of the biggest points about having a strong interior defensive line is just how they influence the outside linebackers. The Giants run a lot of bear front, so they have 3 of those interior guys just lined up kind of just next to each other, a couple feet. And I think it's like 3 nose 3 is kind of that bear front. And they have those 2 outside linebackers. So when you have a guys like Azeez Ojulari, last year we're running with Carter Coughlin, running with Jabal Sherrod, like you mentioned. Now we have Azeez Ojulari, you have Afadi Odenigbo, we have Allerson Smith, we have Lorenzo Carter coming back, and we spoke to his new trainer, the MMA, Bruce Lombard, and he was saying he looks great, really, really taking to the training, and his hand fighting is going to improve. We have O'Shane Ximenez coming back, and we have Ryan Anderson. So we have a good group of pass rushers that can compete. There's no penciled-in starters, which I'm totally fine with. I really want to see them compete during training camp and see who emerges as that starter on both sides of the ball. So I really think that interior defensive line is going to help tremendously. We're going to see a better unit. We had 40 sacks last year, ranked 12th in the NFL, which is still a pretty decent number considering we had no pass rush from the outside linebacker group. Patrick Graham is getting a lot more creative, but he even said himself, he wants to get more into the cover one scheme that his roots are based in, which is going to involve more man coverage and a reliance on the pass rush to really get it done and force quarterbacks to make early decisions, and hopefully our corners can hold up in coverage. And that trio of safeties that we have, Xavier McKinney, Logan Ryan, and Jabril Peppers, really activating in the secondary to hold things down, because we know Jabril Peppers kind of plays this money backer role, strong safety role, that he can maneuver, he can cover tight ends, he can cover running backs, and I'm pretty excited to see how his role develops this upcoming year, in a contract year that is. So excited to see how all these guys kind of fit into this new scheme, this new mold that Patrick Graham is developing this offseason, because it is going to be different with the signing of Adoree Jackson, and the interior defensive line still remains the catalyst for all of their success. And I think Dexter Lawrence is going to play a massive part in their hopeful success in 2021. But let's take a look at some film, Anthony, dive into some Dexter Lawrence, and take a look at really what he offers this team and why he's been so good in the progression he made last year. And it's really nice to see, because it really does show up on film. But let's jump right into that. Okay, so here, right off the bat, we got some good stuff here against San Francisco. And I'll try to explain this for the people listening as well. So a running play, he completely blows this up and fills gaps. The idea for Dexter Lawrence, he is such a big frame. His idea is always to fill gaps and force the offensive lines to shift over, and he just plugs those lanes. He pushes bodies so nicely. And you'll see here, this is obviously a power run to the right side, and he is shifting that blocker that's on him over to the gap so he can fill it. And he wants, basically what he wants is that running back to cut inside so that Blake Martinez can stop him in the gap, right? That is what he wants. And he forces the running back to do exactly that. He clogs that hole right there so well. He has leverage. But the most exciting part about this is look at the running back here. The running back has the advantage because Dexter Lawrence is running parallel to the sideline right now. He is he for a big guy like that, you would not expect him to have the athleticism that he's about to show you. Not only is he completely demolishing his blocker, the blocker is leaning backward. He has no leverage in this situation. But watch what Dexter Lawrence does. He sticks his foot in the ground, shifts his entire momentum, and ends up grabbing the running back. Watch this. He plants that foot, disengages, and he has the agility and strength to actually lunge and get that running back in the hole. You will not find many guys. Like, we have Danny Shelton now, right? We have Danny Shelton as our big nose tackle. He does not have the athleticism to put his foot in the ground, turn around and make a tackle like that when he's perpendicular to the offensive line or to the boundary. So when you're watching Dexter Lawrence and you're seeing him actually do stuff like this and put his foot in the ground and react while his head is completely turned and stop a running back, not only is he plugging the C gap on the outside and really sealing that edge to help his defenders on the edge, but he's turning around and filling the B gap right behind him. It's impressive to see what he's done. And the athleticism he shows at 350 plus pounds is just unparalleled. You cannot find many players in the league with that type of athleticism. And it's just beautiful to see, Anthony. I love to see Dexter Lawrence being able to do stuff like this.
Yeah, one thing that I think is interesting that you notice pre-snap is he's lined up at the one tech, and then pre-snap he shifts over to the two tech before the play begins. I guess the Giants must have figured out where the 49ers were running this football. They must have known. He shifts over, and then he just takes the lane away. It's like he knew it was coming. Someone called the shift, and then as soon as they send the pre-snap motion with that tight end, they're like, okay, we know exactly where they're going, and they just shut it down. This was really great communication on the Giants' defensive side of the ball. They really just knew what was coming and were able to read and diagnose it. And Dexter Lawrence, of course, just makes a phenomenal play there. You see him walk back that tight end. He has the tight end standing straight up, which is a big no-no for a blocking tight end. You never want to be standing straight up. And or that's an offensive lineman, actually. He makes him look like a tight end. He makes him look so small.
He's small,
but that is an
for offensive lineman.
He is a little bit small, but that is an offensive guard that he just walks back and just takes complete advantage of. And, of course, the thing here, though, that you really notice with Dexter Lawrence, and Alex did mention this, he does move the offensive lineman out of the way, which is like step one. That's really all he needs to do, and then the linebacker's supposed to do the rest from there. But Dexter Lawrence just takes it to another level by disengaging, planting, and then getting on top of this running back and making the tackle. So he's basically serving two purposes here. He's doing two jobs. First of all, he's doing the defensive lineman job of moving that guard out of the way and creating a lane for his linebacker to plug. But then he's just like, nah, I'm going to plug it myself. And then it's a tackle for loss because of that, which is super, super impressive. Just to have that sort of strength, of course, to move the guard, and then the athleticism to disengage and then break down and in a pursuit angle and take down the running back. So he's doing two things at once, and it's super, super impressive. Because as you can see right here where Alex has a pause, all the defensive linemen are moving the guards this way, and then Blake Martinez and Lorenzo Carter are supposed to fill those two gaps. Really, they're just playing a defensive scheme where you open up gaps for the linebackers to fill. So they do that really well, but Dexter Lawrence just says, nah, I'm going to fill the gap myself, and that's just super crazy. Shows his athleticism, shows his IQ, and again, this is just a dominant play where he takes advantage of an undersized offensive guard.
Yeah, and then also the statistical portion of this, a 3.6% missed tackle rate shows up here because the guy did not miss many tackles last year, right? He had 53 tackles. He did not miss many tackles. And you can tell his form improved. Everything about him improved. And the second he wraps those arms around this running back, there is no chance he's getting away from him. He's like a Venus flytrap. So it's really nice to see Dexter Lawrence taking this step forward in the run game. And he always has his head up, great peripheral vision. And it's nice to see him with that athleticism and really putting it to the test. Now, let's take a look at a play from Chicago. This is a play that went for 7 yards, but what I wanted to show here is more or less Dexter Lawrence's stamina and really his effort that he puts forth. He only plays 60% of snaps last year. He is a big, big boy. So when you're watching him, you don't expect him to be chasing guys down 10 yards downfield, and actually helping his team in this fashion. But you'll see, I mean, the Bears do an awful job putting the all-22 together, but from the other angle, you can get a better look at how this works. And you'll see Dexter Lawrence right here in the interior line. You'll see him. He's right in front of Jabril Peppers. He's really playing right now, not nose, but probably in the one. And watch what he does here. So, right, he's going to be, the whole defense is getting beat around the edge here by the running back. But Dexter Lawrence sees this. And he's like, okay, you know what? I'm going to put out the effort. I'm going to get to the sideline, and I'm going to push him out of bounds and not let him get that extra yardage. And that's what you want to see, because as Joe Judge would say, the NFL is a game of inches. Every inch counts. And he does a great job here getting all the way to the boundary and pushing him out of bounds. You never know. That 2 inches could be the difference between scoring or an interception on the next play. Could be if it's 3rd and 1, if it's 3rd and inches and they get stuffed, that's a turnover. That's a ball going to your offense now. You never know. And I love to see just the effort that Dexter Lawrence puts forth. He's all the way in the one, and he's moving all the way to the line of scrimmage here to make sure that this running back doesn't get a couple extra yards. That's a big deal for me. I think that shows what type of player he is in the effort he puts forth.
Yeah, a play like this does show tremendous heart. He's actually lined up at the 2-eye because he is taking on the guard, so he's on the inside shoulder of the guard. And one thing that you can take from that is that when we spoke to Afadi Odenabo, he did make it really clear to us that the number one matchup that you want as a defensive lineman is against the offensive guard, because they are the worst athletes on the field. And when you have Dexter Lawrence going up against a guard, and then you see a play like this where he's actually one of the best athletes on the field, that's always a mismatch. So you always want to get him at the 2-eye, the 2, or the 3-tech positions just to take advantage of those guards. And that's what the Giants try to do with him, because he is so athletic for a guy 340 pounds. And I do love that play because it does show tremendous heart and hustle getting downfield and doing everything he can to keep that running back from gaining extra yardage.
Yep. And here we have his sack against Pittsburgh. So this is more or less, he's just spying on Big Ben, and he always has his head up. If you always see him, he always is controlling his assignment, always has his head peering into the backfield, waiting for his opportunity to strike. And here, Big Ben escapes a sack, escapes a tackle, and you see Dexter Lawrence here just controlling the left tackle for Pittsburgh. I think it's Villanueva, possibly. And he basically just disengages him. He bull rushes him right into the backfield, disengages, and bam, he gets after the sack. And that's just like pure effort, man. Like, he's so strong, so big. There's no way Villanueva, who was a good offensive tackle, by the way, is stopping a guy that's 250 pounds from getting to the quarterback. And I just like to see the effort because, it shows up on every play. When he's on the field, he's always exerting maximum effort. Big Ben here, Lorenzo Carter almost gets him. He escapes the sack, and Dexter Lawrence sees that. He disengages, gets after the quarterback, and collects and cleans up. So I think, when you have a better pass rush we're going to see Dexter Lawrence get more sacks because of it, because you never know. Guys like Big Ben, guys like Russell Wilson, like Kyler Murray, they escape sacks all the time, and you have to have those cleanup players that are there at the right time. And I think Dexter Lawrence is one of them. He lets us outside linebackers get there. He waits for his chance. Lorenzo Carter missed out. Dexter Lawrence cleans up. And when you have so many big pass rushers, big interior guys like that, they're just waiting for their opportunity to clean up. They're letting the outside linebackers do the majority of the pass rush work, but they're there for support. And I think that Dexter Lawrence does a tremendous job just being in the right position at the right time, really moving his way into the pocket and putting Big Ben on his ass.
Yeah, this is definitely a play that I would consider to be a cleanup sack. And I think what's interesting here is Dexter's kind of lining up in that 4-eye position, but he swings around to get to the edge and take advantage of the outside shoulder of Villanueva. So what I see here is, I think, based on the way that Dexter's playing this, bull rushing, just taking him on a line outside, it almost looks like he's playing a QB contain, and that's what helps him set him up for that cleanup sack, right? Because Lorenzo Carter does an excellent job beating Kelvin Beachum, the right tackle, on the edge there. Does a really, really good job getting to Ben Roethlisberger and almost gets the sack. And then, of course, Dexter Lawrence comes in and cleans it up. But it looks to me like he's playing that QB contain, which is perfect, because I think that they were trying to get a speed rush off the edge with Lorenzo Carter to push him into the contain that Dexter Lawrence was having. And I think that worked out pretty much perfectly. That is what happened on this play. So really good design by Patrick Graham, and then great execution by Lorenzo Carter. And of course, the QB contain on the play, which was Dexter Lawrence.
Yep. And here we have Dexter Lawrence up against the Arizona Cardinals offensive line. A nice running play from Kenyon Drake, and this gets blown up immediately, but Dexter Lawrence and Dalvin Tomlinson really do a tremendous job just bursting into the backfield. Most offensive lines can handle neither of those players. And of course, you don't have Dalvin anymore. We have Danny Shelton and Austin Johnson, but you can see here, he's lined up in the interior again. Of course, that's where Dexter Lawrence resides most of the time. And they just burst into this backfield. Kenyon Drake never stood a chance of getting out of this. And you can see immediately Dexter Lawrence gets the leverage. He has such good quickness that you can't even get your hands on him with enough time. And he uses those big, strong arms, and he kind of separates them to create some leverage, create some space between him and the offensive lineman. And it's really nice to see here. He just plugs that interior gap. And the second that Kenyon Drake sees that interior gap is gone, tries to bounce it outside, and there's a bevy of defenders that are waiting for him. Another just good run-stopping play from Big Dexy.
I mean, look at how quick his feet are. It's so impressive how quickly he fires out of his stance and then crosses over the offensive guard's face. And I think we're seeing a theme here, right? I tried to mention this earlier. He's going up against the offensive guards, and he's too athletic for the offensive guards. Guards are the worst athletes on the field, as Afadio Denabo explained to us. Having Dexter Lawrence go up against a guard is a matchup that you want every single time. He has too quick of feet for a guard to get in front of and defend, and that's why it leads to plays like this. This was a play that we were watching yesterday for the B.J. Hill breakdown, and we were looking at how B.J. Hill gets a really nice tackle for loss here, and we were like, damn, actually, this play is kind of set up by Dexter Lawrence. He's the one that blows us up, fills that gap, and forces Kenyon Drake to go over to the C gap. And B.J. Hill does a phenomenal job setting the edge and making the tackle for loss. But this really all starts off with Dexter Lawrence lining up at the 2, right over the nose of the offensive guard, right over the offensive guard's face, and then how quickly he fires out of his stance and moves into the next gap, and the offensive guard just has nothing to do but try and pull him from the side, because Dexter is just way too quick for an offensive guard. Like, that's the matchup that you want every single time. When the Giants have Dexter Lawrence on the field, you really don't even want to move him over to the edge or really put him over the center. Just have him attack those guards. If they can't handle him, they'll never be able to, and he's only going to get better and better as he continues to dominate offensive guards in the NFL.
Yep, exactly. And here we have against the Cleveland Browns. This is one of his sacks, and Dexter Lawrence, man, he does it all, from stamina to stopping the run to rushing the passer. I mean,
yeah, this is no cleanup sack either.
Oh,
this
no.
is one where he goes up against a guard and dominates him. Again, dominating an offensive guard. Not a
guy that size.
Here. I'll note that this wasn't a fumble. He was down by contact.
For a guy of his size, he is so fast. Let's watch him here. Let's watch him just dominate this rep. Baker Mayfield never stood a chance.
He's playing the 3 tech
here.
Oh,
my God.
And it's just a nice rip. The way
I was that guard,
once he gets past the offensive lineman, the rip move there to just create all that separation while he's rushing Baker Mayfield. It's a phenomenal job.
Yeah, he hooks, and I love how he uses that one arm. He only needs one arm to create that much leverage, right? He just hooks that arm, he pushes it up so that that offensive guard can't get his chest plate, and then he just has the leverage. He just uses that speed around the edge because is that big and that fast, and you cannot stop him with that lower body strength. He just hooks that arm, and he just literally runs right by him. The offensive guard can't do a single thing. The only thing he can do is hold him, right? That's just kind of shows me what of a smart player Dexter Lawrence is too. He knows that offensive guard's weakness. He gets him into a position where he has no choice but to really hold him is the only way. And he chases down Baker Mayfield, who's one of the best quarterbacks on the run in the NFL in terms of a passing efficiency. And I mean, Baker Mayfield sees Dexter Lawrence coming after him, and he's like, he's like, I don't want any part of that. He's like, I'm screwed from this point on. So this is what he offers as a pass rusher against insufficient offensive guards at the NFL level. If you have injuries, if you have issues there, you have to double team Dexter Lawrence. And they couldn't even get to him in time. The center could have helped him out. Even the left tackle could have helped him out. But really, it's like they really left this guard on an island. Center tried, and he burst through the center too, not even a chance. So it's just tremendous to see. The guy is just so athletic, so powerful, and he also has developed such a nice array of pass rush moves that his progression is just really standing out from this last season's tape.
Yeah, and I think you make a good point there mentioning the talent level at this guard position, because that is Wyatt Teller's position. Wyatt Teller, number 77, that's number 53 that he's going up against. Wyatt Teller was injured for this game. They have their backup come in, and Dexter Lawrence is like, that's all mine. He goes ahead and he eats this guard alive. Insufficient talent. You can't put a measly guard like number 53 on Dexter Lawrence. And what I love here from Dexter Lawrence is that speed to power. You see how quickly he fires out of his stance, and he's using that speed rush, just going straight through the gap, and then the power to rip and just keep that offensive lineman off of him. And then, of course, the center tries to chip, and it's just like, get off of me. You're insufficient as well, and he gets to Baker Mayfield. I love this play. I think that this is really one of the more impressive plays that you're going to find of Dexter Lawrence's film, taking advantage of some weak competition there with a backup guard and just using that rip move to get by him, blow by, and get an easy sack. And this is no cleanup. This is all Dexter Lawrence. This is really this is the difference maker for defensive linemen, because a lot of defensive linemen who gather sacks are the cleanup guys. But this is different. This is legitimate pass rushing from your three tech. And that's super, super important to have on the Giants defense. As you see, they've only got 3 down linemen on this play. It's just their base 3-4, and he's able to just blow it up. When you're able to play your base 3-4, rush 3 players, and have your interior defensive lineman get after the quarterback like this, that's an incredible play. And it's one that really tells you this is a superstar in the making.
Yeah, and it's really nice to see how after he uses this rip move, he just gets right upfield. He just goes vertical, right upfield, and then he sees where Baker Mayfield is, chases him down because he is that quick, that agile, and he almost forces a fumble. This is purely a Dexter Lawrence dominant play. And I think he's going to take a tremendous step forward with all the new pass rushers that we have. Offenses are going to have to allocate more attention to our outside linebackers now, not double team Dexter Lawrence all the time, not double team Leonard Williams all the time. And then we have our creative Patrick Graham play caller who loves to send safeties, love to send linebackers on the blitz as well. So I think Dexter Lawrence is going to have his best season. I could see him finishing the year with maybe 6-7 sacks, which would be a tremendous upgrade in terms of his statistical output, which he took a big step forward last year, and 50 fewer snaps. So you're seeing how scheme really does help. And with cover one, it's going to really allow him to get after the passer a lot more efficiently. So excited to see what Dexter Lawrence can provide this upcoming year. Really excited to see this entire defense as a whole, guys. But thank you so much for tuning into Fireside Giants as always. And make sure to hit subscribe on YouTube for more awesome videos like this, and notifications on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube as well. So thank you so much for this. Make sure to, hit up our sponsor Manscaped below in the description on YouTube, and make sure to use that Fireside 20 discount code, because that really helps the channel and keeps us chugging along. As always, we're really excited for training camp coming up in a couple of weeks. We got you guys covered with all the content you could possibly need, and we'll see you guys on the next video.